on, guys? Good morning. Welcome back to United View. Hope everyone is doing very well. Welcome back to another edition of Matchday Reloaded, live here once again after an international break. We are back here in Panenka Studios. Yes, we are back, and we're back talking about a Manchester United weekend in the Premier League, and we're back talking about another Premier League victory for Manchester United. A cool, calm and composed 3-0. Maybe. Maybe not cool, calm and composed totally, but 3 goals, 3 points, a goal of the season contender, an emerging performance from a young United starlet. There's plenty to get into this morning. There's plenty of reaction to get into this morning as well. We're going to have some reactions from Flex, KG, Rich, Good Vibes. John is why the Good Vibes are well and truly back at this point. Raf, Micah, we've got some match view highlights as well. So there's plenty to get into, but I hope everyone's doing very well, having a good Monday morning, beginning of a new week and all that. I can see people filing in the chat. You've got Amanor there saying morning all. I've got Kishan saying Viva Garnacho. DJ's in there says big up. All elites talking about there's Modric and Xavi comparisons to Kobbie Mainoo. We'll settle. We'll settle before we get into anything like that. But I hope everyone is doing very good. And before we get into any of the highlights, before we get into any of the reactions this morning as well, I'm going to sit here and I'm not going to crow, because there's still plenty of the season to go, and there's a big week ahead of football for Man United. We've got Galatasaray Wednesday, away, Champions League. Got Newcastle away, Premier League next weekend. Look, there are many banana peels to slip on for United this season, and certainly in the next few weeks. And look, chances are, we will probably slip on a few, because Manchester United, they're still not perfect. If you watched the performance yesterday, it could have gone either way a couple of times. Obviously, Garnacho's just wonder goal. And then really for the rest of the first half, we were actually quite poor, to be honest. And Everton I don't really know how they didn't score. Some really good defending and some also good goalkeeping and goal line clearance from Kobbie Mainoo too. Second half, we played a lot better, got a penalty. That kind of killed off the game. And then after that, we did start to play some better stuff, and Martial grabs the third. But I remember prior to the international break, and I remember saying at that time 4 wins out of 5. And saying, look, we're not playing very well, granted, or the performances aren't great, but when you're not playing well, you still have to win games. It's something that Eric Ten Hag had said. You know, the performances aren't there, or the performances aren't at the level that we would have hoped they would have been, but you still have to get wins, you still have to put points on the board, and ultimately you can only beat who's in front of you. And I remember saying that, and the pushback, I'll say it again, toxic positivity. Stop it with the toxic positivity, Owen. Stop being so deluded. It's not sustainable. And I said, never said it was sustainable. But stop it with the toxic positivity. Well, now, yesterday was the biggest Premier League win under Eric Ten Hag since he's been at the club. That's pretty significant. Going from 4 wins out of 5 to 5 wins out of 6. And if you look at the Premier League table as to how and where Manchester United are, worst start to a Premier League season ever, factual. You know, one of the worst beginnings to a season since, what was it, the 1970s? You know, breaking records also that have stood for 60 years or something like that. Before yesterday, only scored 13 goals in the Premier League. So, I mean, they are damning statistics. Absolutely damning statistics. But even if you're not playing well and you still just pick up performances, pick up results, even when you're not playing very well, and rather than your performances aren't great, then you keep yourself in it, which is where we are right now. 6 points off top, and when you say that, you get the pushback. So you're saying you're going to win the league? No, Man United are not going to win the Premier League this season, but you're 5 points behind Manchester City, you're 4 points behind Liverpool, you're 2 points behind Ange Postecoglou at Spurs, which, wait a minute, 2 or 3 weeks ago, people are going, got to get someone like Ange in. Look at Ange, look at what he's done with Spurs. Look at that, look at the amazing stuff that he's done. Look at the high line, look at the football that they're playing. Only 2 points behind now. What's going on with that? And the biggest one for me is Chelsea. I remember the super chats coming in. I remember the comments just a couple of weeks ago. Chelsea, as a project, they're way in front of us. Chelsea is a project, they're miles ahead. Look at their performances in the big game. They lost again at the weekend. Granted, away, Newcastle, we might have a similar result. I'm not saying that we won't. But what I am saying is that I think sometimes as United fans, we have this desire to have what everyone else has. You know, we want Pochettino's playing well in big games. We want that. Ange Postecoglou, he's got the media talking nice about him. We want that. When actually we've got stuff at United, right? Don't focus on the others, focus on ourselves. And it's still going to be ups and downs this season. I predicted in this run of games, I think, what did I say? 3 wins, a loss and a draw, or maybe 3 wins and 2 losses. And I still stick with that because we're inconsistent. I mean, at the moment, we're actually, a bit consistent in the Premier League. Champions League, I mean, honestly, it's almost a write-off. I hate to say that at this point, but Galatasaray away, it might not go well. And I think we've almost got to compartmentalise with competitions this season, realistically. But that's where we're at. But there are things. There's a lot to be negative about Manchester United, and don't get me wrong. I'm not lost. That's not lost on me. Or those things to be negative about. There are still some things to be positive about. Andre Onana, right? Andre Onana, the scrutiny that he was getting at the beginning of the season, justified, making mistakes. Don't get me wrong, but I see people still holding on that right now. He's tied for the most Premier League clean sheets. For all of the talk about the defensive issues that we've had, again, we've got just as many clean sheets as anyone else in the Premier League, or our goalkeeper certainly does. That's pretty good going. Yesterday, in terms of the goal scorers, who scored the goals? All of the front three. Rashford, Garnacho, Martial. That's improvement. That's better. And I'm not saying you're not allowed to criticise, because again, here we go. Black and white. There's no shades of grey involved. Absolutely, you're allowed to criticise. At the beginning of the season, it's not good enough. When you're losing games in the manner that Man United lost games, it wasn't good enough. The performances still largely aren't great. But when you put these other parts of it and you say, well, 5 wins out of 6, you're a couple of points behind Spurs, you're 4 points behind Liverpool, 5 off City, 6 off Arsenal, 8 in front of Chelsea, tied with the most clean sheets of the goalkeeper, ain't bad going for a team that's terrible and should be bottom of the league. And the amount of slander. The media, this is what I get into. Don't believe everything in terms of the media's analysis of Manchester United, in my opinion. Because so far this season, if you believed everything that all of the media was writing about this side and how we've been playing and all this kind of stuff, you'd think we're bottom of the league. You would think we were bottom of the league. But we're not. We're not. We're still not where we should be, and we still need to get better and be way more consistent. But maybe the sky isn't falling. Just maybe not. Maybe there's a little bit of hope when it comes to that. Super chat from DJ says, I told the UV team Kobbie was the Casemiro understudy. They questioned his age. Erik ten Hag was prepping him from the start of pre-season. Flowers, please. Well, when it comes to Kobbie, and we'll go in a bit more in depth in just a bit. Obviously, magnificent yesterday, and huge potential, huge quality. I still do say, let's be calm, and I still say, because now after yesterday's performance, it's like playing in every single game, and he is still coming back from an injury. He didn't play the full 90 minutes yesterday, so we still need to be super careful with him anyway. Even if he hadn't had the injury, you would say be careful with his minutes. The last thing you want to do with a young player is completely burn him out. We've seen examples of that throughout history, but he was sensational yesterday. You can't argue against that. He was absolutely sensational and picked up where he left off from pre-season and was better as well. And I hold my hands up. I was like, we've got to stop lauding people as the answer. And I would still hold on to that point again. Ask me in sort of 4 or 5 games' time about that. But he was absolutely magnificent yesterday. No doubt about that. SS Drifter says, no, Owen, no. As United fans, we want what's best for the club, and people have every right to criticise. Well, this is SS Drifter, and I appreciate the comment, and you're one of the members, and you're right to have your opinion, no doubt about that. But this is when it gets into, what did I just say? Did I say you're not allowed to criticise? No, that's not what I said. You're absolutely allowed to criticise, and you're right to criticise. You can't sit through the beginning of the season and be like, everything's totally fine, because it wasn't, and everything's not totally fine at United. My point is that there is this sort of, after the Luton game, it was really evident to me where you wouldn't have thought we'd won coming out of the Luton game, with some of the reaction to how poor and terrible and rubbish we are and all this kind of stuff. And I felt like it was ignoring some obvious positives, which were we created chances. And looking at the form table, another clean sheet. And when you're not playing particularly well, you do have to hold on to those positives and you have to build upon it as well. In addition to that, I think the examples were there last season whereby you don't just get good overnight. You don't just get good overnight. You have to build up momentum. And last season was evident by that too. I remember coming out of the World Cup, it was a slow and steady win a game 1-0, win a game 2-1, sort of smash and grab settings. And then eventually that's how you build up belief. And I think it's almost illogical at this point. I think sometimes some of the United fans feel like we're just going to snap into good form immediately. We're going to be playing terrible and then just one game, we're amazing. And we're playing like Man City or Liverpool or peak Barcelona. And it just doesn't work like that. And as we get players back and as we have a more settled starting 11 or starting 12 or 13 players and a settled back four, we will play better, we will be more consistent, and the results hopefully will then come. That's just my wider point. Absolutely right to have constructive criticism. I mean, we're going to go into players individually as we go through the show. But, people like Rashford, he scored yesterday. He was still largely very, very poor. There are still massive issues in the midfield, completely overrun. And we were clinical though yesterday, and it wasn't a perfect performance. And again, it could have gone very differently. I feel like Everton missed some proper sitters. You'll see with the XG, not my favourite stat, but it was quite close. Everton had chances, so they'll probably look at it and say, actually, on another day, maybe we get a goal and United collapse. But there is some momentum building, and I think that whilst you can criticise and have constructive criticism, it shouldn't be that that's the only thing you focus on, because then you ignore some obvious positives, I think, as well, realistically. So there you go. Jedi Pyro says, so you're saying 0 goal difference is title winning form? Again, no. I'm not saying that. As I said, Man United are not going to win the Premier League this season. But also, if you have a goal difference that was in the minus, and you win a game 3-0 and you get to 0, you should say, right, again, you can build on that. So yesterday it was -3 goal difference. What did we want it to be the game after? -20. Do we want to win that game 23-0? Like, how many games have we played this season in the Premier League, right? We've played 13 games, and it got 13 games, or after 12 games, it was a goal difference of -3. And largely that's because we're not scoring enough goals. Conceding goals, actually, we're, I said, on par with everyone out. If anything, a little bit better than some, actually. I want to talk about goals conceded less than Spurs, conceded less than Aston Villa as well, conceded less than Brighton. It's just goals scored. It's goals scored. We've only scored 16 goals this season. But yesterday it was 13, scoring 3 goals in a season. So you have to build on that. You have to build on that, No one going into yesterday's game thought we were going to win 3-0. And if you said that to everyone before the game, win the game 3-0, oh yeah, take that, absolutely. Are we going to win the league? No. But when you're talking about being, 4 points off 4th, I mean, actually 2 points off 5th, which might get you a Champions League spot this season. Given the start we've had, I'll be happy to be in this position right now. If you take into context our start to the season, which hasn't been that great. Another super chat here from Amanor says, slow it, repeat after me, Mainoo is the truth. We're going to get into Kobbie Mainoo very shortly. But let's have a bit of a recap of what happened yesterday, particularly inside UVHQ. Here are the match view highlights.
Hey! Touch! Oh! Let's go! Are you crazy? Are you
Did he sue?
Starboy. He sued. No. Starboy.
What?
Put some respect on his name. Sue.
No.
Yeah. Let's show.
That was unreal.
Let's see it again.
Scotty. That was unreal.
There you go. 9 3/4.
That was a ball as well. That was a ball as well from Lindelof.
Hold on.
He's onside.
Delon.
What a goal.
Shut up. No.
Puskas.
Get out. Put 5 keepers in there.
What a goal.
He's
That
rude.
is ridiculous.
Bro, connection.
Hey, put 5
The
keepers in
connection, look at
there.
this.
He is rude.
Look at the connection. What
He said,
this
is insane. Come on.
Yeah.
Yay! I liked it. Come on, guy.
Come on.
What? Lucia.
Come on.
Lucia.
Yes.
2-0. Let's go.
The Lucy.
Lucy, I believe. The Lucy. Well done. Well done.
Yes.
Well done.
I like it.
No, I don't like that. I still don't like it because it's important. I think.
I don't care. Give it to the
scared.
striker. Let him start scoring.
Send him off, man. He's fuming. Like, why is he still talking to the referee?
And now they're losing their heads. They're gonna get a red.
Gonna be.
Yeah, he's fuming. Well, that was a foul.
No, it's a foul.
It should have been the second
What's
yellow.
the chat saying? The chat saying it's a definite.
I think that's a foul, man.
That's what you got to do.
Oh, what a pass. What a goal. What a goal. What a goal.
Yeah, that's it.
What a goal.
That's it.
In the game,
That's my boy. That's my boy.
That's what I wanted.
I said it right before he did it. Dink.
Yeah, I
He's
said
cold.
Garnacho, Rashford,
He's
Martial.
cold.
Bruno assist.
He's
Our
cold.
forwards have finally got a goal.
Tell you what.
Bruno?
Yes. Kept it simple.
He
Kept
didn't
it
try.
simple.
He didn't go. Let me try and
Rashford,
freeze him
exactly.
out. Let me
Martial against Goodison
Keep
Park.
it
Simple. For real Dink.
That was Joe. That was Joe.
Let's
Stretford Palace.
let's not forget about.
Look, hold it
Starts
up.
to move
Right
as well.
pass.
Yes, you're right. Pelestri
Doing the
here.
simples right.
Pelestri is simple.
Just
Hold it
forcing
up.
it. Come in
Wait.
back.
The pass from Bruno though.
The ball.
The pass from Bruno is disgusting.
from Bruno's
This pass is
phenomenal.
disgusting though.
Phenomenal
That's
ball.
disgusting. I didn't think. Lovely.
Yeah.
Lovely.
I call it 3-0. That's what I'm calling it, man.
Our forwards have scored, like I said.
I call it 3-0.
Rashford,
What did my manager say?
Wanted.
What about
They'll come.
It will come. It'll come. That's what the manager said. Indeed, KG. Big up to everyone inside UVHQ. Ed with the members chat's been a member for 9 months. Appreciate your support. Says Robin van Persie's volley is our best Premier League goal, but Garnacho because he sprinted straight into second. Mainoo putting Amrabat and Casemiro to shame. Tell me when I'm telling lies with the wink face. Yes. Yes. Tell me when I'm telling lies. It's gonna be a late night tonight. I'm telling you. Van Persie, the best Premier League goal for United. This is when you get into those debates, which are subjective, aren't you? I mean, we had it the poll yesterday on the full-time view about the overhead kick. Is it the best overhead kick ever? I think there was certainly people saying maybe sort of Bale, Ronaldo level of game, and technique was very, very special, and they're very special. Is it the best Premier League overhead kick ever? It's right in the conversation, isn't it? For me, it's better than the Rooney overhead kick against Man City. Now, I think what people are sort of weighing up is technique versus occasion, because you would say, well, the Rooney one, wow, it's Manchester Derby, Old Trafford. That is very significant, very, very significant. And it is. There's no doubt about that. Now, Man City at the time weren't the Man City of right now. They had the money. I think Mancini was the manager at that point. They hadn't won their first Premier League title by that stage yet. So they were sort of up and coming, but still Manchester Derby. But it kind of comes off the shin a little bit. The Garnacho one for me is just better technique because he has to take a couple of steps back and get behind the ball and still does it. It's just magnificent. Absolutely magnificent. So for me, the technique is better, and I'd probably rank it higher than the Rooney one because I just think it's brilliant. As far as overalls, I would still probably say the Gareth Bale one for me, Champions League final, I think is just outrageous. You know, Liverpool, and again, that one was also kind of behind him as well. It's a freak goal, really freak goal. But nevertheless, it's an absolutely remarkable goal by Alejandro Garnacho. Has to be. I mean, if it gets beaten for goal of the season, I'm all in to see what that goal looks like because it's got to be absolutely insane. Realistically, it's got to be absolutely incredible. And whether it gets the Puskas Award, they were saying that in the UVHQ. Puskas Award. Who knows? Who votes on that? Is that a UEFA award or a FIFA award? Either way, I don't really trust any of the votings when it comes to anything like that either. So, yeah, I don't know. Another super chat here says, Officer of the Watches says, Galafan here, are you ready, Man U, to be beaten? Well, look, we'll see. We'll see. In the same way that a lot of people went into yesterday's game against Everton going, Away from home, Man United, who knows what's going to happen? Although our recent record is fairly good away at Everton, shockingly. I know people, recall the defeat a couple of years ago when Lampard was there under Ralph, but actually our recent record's fairly good at Goodison Park. Away in Turkey at Galatasaray, that's going to be pretty difficult, pretty challenging. But recent away form is good. Our Champions League form and Premier League form is radically different this season. Although, and it's like Ten Hag says, if you want to sort of lean into some of the positives and something to build upon, that Copenhagen performance prior to the red card would have been a totally different game. And I know it's if, buts and maybes, hypothetical. That's not how the game played out. But if we do play like we did prior to the red card against Galatasaray, we should be scoring goals. So, big week ahead, certainly. Big week ahead. We've got over 700 people watching, less than 100 likes. If you haven't already, click the like button as well. A couple of quotes, then we'll get to Flex's reaction, his thoughts on the game. Bruno Fernandes, the captain, after the game said, quote, "It's always tough to play against Everton, but I think our performance was really good." On his wonder goal, Alejandro Garnacho said, "I can't believe it, to be honest. Oh my God." Bruno Fernandes also chimed in and said, "A goal like this silences the crowd. I'm very proud of him and I'm glad he's on my side." And it's interesting Bruno said that because, yes, obviously it silenced the crowd. And it's one of those moments, isn't it, where when you score a goal like that, even if you're away from home, they kind of have to applaud because it's just it's a phenomenal bit of individual brilliance. But as far as did it silence the crowd, maybe for 5 minutes. But that Everton Goodison Park crowd was raucous. And as I said, first half, I didn't think we played particularly well still, and we had to hang on. And we were quite fortunate that Everton didn't score. Again, a couple of good saves. There's a block off the line by Kobbie Mainoo. There was a Decore chance, which he should have scored or at least hit the target. But that's just kind of where United are at the moment as well, where we're not completely dominating games. So when you're not doing that, you kind of just have to hang in there. You kind of just have to hang in there and just keep getting through it. And we're kind of getting through games at the moment. But yesterday, if yesterday isn't something to build off, I don't know what is. Is it a complete performance? No, but 3 goals away from home. You have to lean into that. You absolutely have to. Now, for instance, Sean Dyche, the Everton manager, said after the game yesterday, quote, "A lot of noise made about them not playing well, but they are top of the form guide, so they must be doing something right." Bruno Fernandes was asked about Kobbie Mainoo's performance. He said, quote, "A great match. For me, he is the man of the match. He put in a great performance. He is comfortable with the ball and never makes a mistake. For his age, he has so much qualities. He sees things before others." Erik ten Hag also spoke about Kobbie Mainoo, of course, his first Premier League start for United yesterday. Said, quote, "We know we're in transition. We have to develop players. Kids have to deserve it. It was painful for us when he got a bad injury in pre-season, but now he's back. He's a good boy, very mature. He showed it today." Roy Keane also said he was outstanding, Kobbie Mainoo. He looked like a Manchester United player, nice and brave and a lot of courage. Again, we'll talk about Kobbie Mainoo very shortly. But before we do, let's get some reaction from Flex inside UVHQ. Here's what he had to say.
You know what? When it's all said and done, you cannot ask for more than that. Garnacho, simply magical, that goal. That's the only way to describe it. As you saw on the match view, I was just in complete disbelief, and you can't ask for a better start than that in a game in terms of scoring early. But the goal that he scored, it just shows great ability. It shows great audacity. Actually, I'm going to say it. You have to be audacious to even try to do that, to even think to do that. Like I said, it's good build-up play and stuff like that. But let's be honest, from Dalot, he's sort of just putting it into an area. For Garnacho to turn that into a genuine chance is something that opposition managers just have to clap. Opposition fans just have to clap. The goalkeeper who's conceded that goal, centre-backs who've seen the ball go over their head all the way into the top corner. It was just magical. And that is going to be a contender, like we've been saying, for the Puskas Awards, in terms of when it gets to the end of the calendar year or whatever it is, that is going to be in like the top 10 of goals scored around the world. You're not going to see many better goals than that. It was absolutely incredible that Garnacho did it. It was just out of nothing, out of nowhere. You just didn't expect to see him do it. And wow, I'm still in shock now. It's one of them goals you just want to keep seeing back and back and over and over and over again. And obviously, people comparing it to the Wayne Rooney overhead kick in, 2011, Manchester City, in the derby. People comparing it to the Gareth Bale one against Liverpool. I think Ronaldo had one against Juve for Real Madrid. You know, there's been some top draw overhead kicks. Now, those ones probably shade it, Champions League final to do that, etc., etc. I understand that. But in terms of the technique and the way he scored it, he's right up there as an amazing goal. And then we didn't actually play that well after that, I thought. I think actually Everton were the ones who were in the ascendancy, and they should have scored, really. I was disappointed with how we were after the goal. I thought scoring that early in the manner that we did, we would have been better from that. But actually, it's credit to Everton, because they actually stuck to what their game plan was. They put us under pressure. They was getting balls into Calvert-Lewin really quickly, getting balls down the sides into Dwight McNeil and Jack Harrison, and just being a pain, really, just being a proper Sean Dyche team. And we were probably fortunate to go in at 1-0. And a big reason for that, I'm going to get into, is the goalkeeper, Andre Onana. Listen, he's really, really settled down. Some wicked saves, some really good saves from him. Came and claimed a couple balls as well. Done one where he set himself up for almost like a volleyball technique. I don't know how he done that. Great save from Idris Gueye as well. Like he had some really good moments in the game, and it's great to see him with his feet firmly under the ground now. He kind of put it behind him, the kind of tough start that he had. And we was all onto him thinking, what on earth's going on? We've brought this guy in and got rid of David De Gea. And now it looks, very ominous about what's going on. And I think Rich said to me here at UVHQ, he said he's got the most clean sheets in the league, or at least joint. So that's really good to see that he's calmed down. Now for Kobbie Mainoo, man. Kobbie Mainoo. Now, listen, Alejandro Garnacho gets man of the match. Kind of rightly so, because you score a goal like that. But Kobbie Mainoo's performance for his whole 70 minutes or 70-odd minutes that he played, I thought was absolutely flawless. Absolutely flawless. He was winning duels. He was looking so calm and composed on the ball. He was physical. He knew where to be. Goal line clearance. You don't often see that level of maturity in someone so young. And listen, we have to be careful, okay? We cannot, put too much pressure on the kid. We cannot overplay him. We cannot expect him to play like that every single time he plays. But what we can do is look at him and say he looks a special talent. And if we nurture him right, if we give him the patience and we give him the right environment, that I know Ten Hag will definitely try to do in terms of young players. He did it with Garnacho last year, trying to ease him in. And you can clearly see why he was sort of knocking on the door in the first team on pre-season tour. I'm convinced of it. To start him in a game like today that was going to be hostile, it's going to be difficult. Everton in your face, they're physical, they get about the pitch, away at Goodison under the lights, Sunday night. It's not an easy game to get your first Premier League start. And he looked like he's been playing for us for years.
Indeed, he did flex. He looked like he'd been playing for us for years. Amir with a super chat here. It says, this one goal elevated our whole club. I don't know about that. It's facetious. It's sarcasm in the morning as well. Yes, let's have the Kobbie Mainoo discussion, because, I mean, he played in pre-season. And actually, to be honest, when you think about him playing in pre-season, he didn't play a ton. I mean, he played, obviously, the first game on the tour against Arsenal, in which he was magnificent, absolutely magnificent in that game, and our eyes were truly opened. He was involved, obviously, in a couple of the games prior to them. What was it, Lyon and Leeds, I think it was. But they weren't sort of, the whole squad wasn't there because players were coming off internationals and everyone was sort of waiting to see what happened when the full squad was there on tour. And he only really played the Arsenal one. And then, of course, against Real Madrid, the next one, he got injured after a couple of minutes. And we were also excited. I think if you go back and check out all of the previews and discussions and even that match view that I did whilst we were playing Real Madrid on the tour, I think really the biggest discussion going into that Madrid game was really excited to see what Kobbie Mainoo does. Really excited to see what Kobbie Mainoo does against Real Madrid, because obviously, gigantic midfield players, Luka Modric, Jude Bellingham, and everyone was excited to see how he would fare. And then to go down with an injury after just a couple of minutes, it was devastating. And also the severity and nature of the injury as well. I mean, that was in July, early July. We're late November. So that's July, August, September, October, November. It's like 5 months, really. So after a knee injury, that's a very serious and severe knee injury. So he needed to be brought back in the right time. We needed to make sure we took our time with him, because I remember the last couple of weeks, last 2 or 3 weeks, some people in the comments, or I saw some people on social media saying, why are we not playing Kobbie Mainoo? Kobbie Mainoo needs to play. He should be in right now. And in retrospect, and it's also very easy to say in hindsight, isn't it? But clearly Erik ten Hag and the medical team, for all they've done wrong this season, the medical team, hopefully, fingers crossed, they would have got this one right, in the sense of when you've got a young player, 18 years old, that had a very serious knee injury, out for 4 or 5 months, you don't, when he's back on the grass, you don't put him straight into the Premier League team immediately. You have to play under 18s football for a little while just to build up that fitness. And also, the remarkable thing with his performance yesterday was that that's his first Premier League start. And I think he put the senior players that surrounded him to complete shame. Because I mentioned in the first half that we weren't very good after the goal and we were so erratic. Very similar to how we've been playing this season, where the midfield got overrun so often and there were so many turnovers and we couldn't stop giving the ball away. You know, the midfielders, whether it was Bruno in the first half, he got better in the second, but Rashford giving the ball away as well. McTominay, don't actually know how many passes he completed. You know, we were so sloppy at points on the ball. And the most composed player in a red shirt yesterday was an 18-year-old kid that had never started a Premier League game prior to that game. That is remarkable. And again, it's perception, isn't it? How do you look at that? Do you look at it as, wow, that's a huge amount of composure for that kid? And absolutely, you look at that composure, quality, aura, no doubt about it. But also, it's a bit of an indictment on the other players, isn't it? Because you should have way more composure and way more experience and better mentality than this kid does. What's wrong with you? So it's a combination of both, realistically. But we still, as Flex says, have to be careful, have to take it steady, not overplay him, not put too much pressure on him as well, because one, again, he's only just started his first Premier League game and he's coming back from an injury and he's young. And you don't want to overplay players. You don't want to run them into the ground. And you don't want to put so much pressure on him straight away, and he has to be the answer. All of our hopes are pinned on him. That's not fair on him either. But if he can continue to do that, the sky is well and truly the limit. And you can see why, based off just that performance yesterday, why Manchester City have sniffed around him for, I mean, allegedly, like the last 5+ years. Every single youth level, they've been like, hey, Kobbie, do you want to come to Manchester City? And it's no. And thankfully, he signed a new contract last year, didn't he? So he's sticking around with Manchester United for quite some time. And just watching that performance yesterday, it's just, you get excited about the potential and where he can go, certainly, and the future that he has in store. And I think, talking about the senior players, he came off, when was it, around the 70th minute, something like that. Sofian Amrabat came on, and there was a noticeable difference in terms of a decline, in terms of just individual performance. One of the first things Amrabat did is give the ball away, and your mind said, Kobbie wouldn't do that. And again, I think that speaks volumes about Kobbie Mainoo, and I think it speaks volumes about the other midfield players that we've got at the club. So Kobbie Mainoo, for me, I know Garnacho scored a fantastic goal, but Kobbie Mainoo was the man of the match. I think because I'm in a way glad he didn't get it, because he would have had to do the media duties. Maybe well, he wouldn't have had to, but he would have probably had to do an interview after the game. And I think sometimes it's not a bad thing to have the player out of the spotlight, not doing a ton of media, focus on the football, protected, insulated from everyone else. I think that was maybe not the worst thing in the world. But I think if you'd have asked most people, you'd go, hey, Kobbie Mainoo was man of the match. He was the best player on the pitch, without a doubt. I am coast to coast. Look at this. 5, count them, 5 United View memberships. Wow. Incroyable. Do we actually see who got gifted those memberships? If I scroll up a little bit, is that going to be on here? Indeed it is. Aria, Kobbie Busquets. What a name that is. Kobbie Busquets. Wizard, J-Tom, and Marie gifted the memberships there. So thank you very much. I am coast to coast. And actually, you know what? Well, actually, I won't do this while I'm chatting to you live. I can play another clip. But whilst this next clip is playing, Cage's reaction is playing, in celebration of those gifted 5 memberships, we'll release a new episode of UV Raw. We'll release it today, right now. So if you are a member, you can go and check that out. After the show, obviously, you can go and check that out, as well as the 28 other episodes. In addition to that, you get your badges, you get your emojis. You also get the ability to call in full-time view with me me after the game. We've got 2 games this week, Galatasaray, Newcastle. You can call in, you can have your say. So talk about getting bang for your buck. We really try and make sure that you do, and you get those added perks, you get those elevated options. So I'm going to release an episode of UV Raw right now. But first, whilst I'm doing that, you can see KG's reaction after the game. Here's what he had to say.
Gouters, in your faces is war blood. Everton, 10-point deduction. They should have deducted more because you were poor blood. Come on! I'm gassed, seriously. I'm over the moon, really happy. 3-0, we done it. Listen, if you thought I was gassed after Luton, imagine me now, away from home. We did what we need to do. Moment of silence for the Garnacho goal. Because we murdered Pickford. Pickford got handled, bro. He had to pick the ball out of the net. It was one of those ones. Literally, Man United, we done our thing. That goal was, it was more than audacious. It was like, it was a how dare you. How dare you to do that? How dare you? How dare you to do that? It was a madness. I was so happy because I'm looking at like the goal and stuff, and to turn around and say, you know what? This is how I'm going to score this goal. It's madness. Backwards, bicycle, Delo, delivery, Rashford on the right. Listen, and when you're talking about moments and like special things, we need to talk about Garnacho. The boy is special. The boy is so special, Rashford has been told, move. You don't know me. My phrase all the time, move, man. Move over to the right-hand side. This left-hand side, this is my thing. I do this thing. I'm in control of this thing. While I'm here, big man, better find someone to play, because I'm playing, and Garnacho is delivering. Garnacho going back, winning tackles. Garnacho fighting for the shirt. I love to see it. I mean, it was amazing. What are we talking about right now? Players in the league, yeah, for wingers to do that. The shock. If you see the scenes, go back and watch it. United View. You already know what to do. Go back and watch the reaction. No one didn't know what to do. It's amazing. And I'm proud of him. I'm proud of the player that he's becoming, because they said he couldn't start. Said he couldn't do this, couldn't do that. He's proving everybody wrong. Now, another player that I need to talk about, another player I have to big up, Kobbie Mainoo, under 18. Under 18, bro. The guy should be getting to over 21 raves. The way the guy's playing right now, he's available, fam. He's able. Big game, big man settings, maturity. Mature. It is a mature performance. You give me the ball. Where is it? Like, I'm looking over my shoulder. Forever scanning, guys. You talk about, I know our manager here, he doesn't give out handouts. He's not a handout manager. He's not on like charity settings. You have to earn it. And we saw it pre-season. He was a big part of his plans. Kobbie was supposed to get this start and was supposed to see Kobbie. But my God, mobile as ever, clever, good body balance, good at receiving the ball, looking up, passing forwards. I'm telling you, like, there's a player there, and we are trying to temper our expectations. We don't want to get too fast, we don't want to get too excited, but we can be excited about his debut performance. Premier League debut, and you're playing like that, away from home, against the Toffees. Bruv. I'm talking about hard candy, fam. Them Toffees, they couldn't manage him in the middle. I'm gassed. Nah, I'm over the moon. Honestly, because this is what we're looking for. We want to watch our games and smile. We want to watch our games knowing we did our thing. Another player, you know what? When we talk about hero arcs, yeah, remove the armband. You take the armband off Harry Maguire, you get Harry Maguire. Harry Maguire, please stand up. He's here. You know when they're apologizing in Africa, they said the economical Maguire. And Maguire responds, what? This is what's going on right now. Maguire is doing his thing.
KG. I mean, there's only one KG the comedian, isn't there? There's only one Mr. the comedian. Say that maybe should be going to over 21 raves and hard candy, the stuff in the middle. It was very good. That's a strong fan view from KG there. I did see also another. This is a promise, and I wanted to make sure that I am coast to coast. Gifted 5 memberships this morning, and there's a promise There's a promise. I take this as a verbal contract. You're committed at this point. I am coast to coast. Says, if we get another 3-0, I will do 10 memberships. 10. You heard it here first. This has happened, okay? This is put out there in the ether. So the next time United get 3-0, 10 memberships. Now, as to when we'll get 3-0 again, I mean, you can let me know in the chat when you think... when you think that's going to happen. But big up, I am coast to coast. And the latest episode of UV Raw is out now. I just released it. It's the FA Cup final episode. Yeah. Bad memories, but also good memories as well. So you can check that out. Speaking of checking things out, this morning, 12 o'clock, midday, got the latest episode of the Tactical Viewers dropping with Cam giving his tactical analysis of yesterday's game. After this has ended, you'll be redirected straight there. Obviously, it doesn't start for a couple of hours, but what you can do when you're redirected there is click the like button, and also you can click the little thing that says notify me when this starts. So you'll be redirected straight to there as well. Now, KG did talk about Harry Maguire very briefly, and I do want to give him some credit as well because... he mentioned in the, what country is it? Was it Ghana? The Ghana government, the politician that was apologising to him, Economical Maguire, and now saying he's a man that turned himself around. And look, he's doing well. And this is the whole discussion about the Raphael Varane thing, isn't it? So you're saying Maguire's better than Raphael Varane? No, of course not. Raphael Varane's better defender than Harry Maguire, but... in the same way that you criticize someone if they're not doing very well and they shouldn't be playing and they're not putting in decent performances, credit to Harry Maguire. Look, he got his spot back in the side because of injury and circumstance, injury and not other people not being available. And he's come in and he's done all right. As I mentioned, our recent form in the Premier League would suggest that he keeps his spot. Our defensive record in the Premier League recently would suggest he keeps his spot. I mean, like I said, we've conceded 16 goals, another clean sheet. How many clean sheets is that for Manchester United this season? Again, was it 5? Yeah, recent form in the Premier League as well. Obviously, clean sheet yesterday. Clean sheet against Luton. Before that, clean sheet against Fulham. So that's 3 back-to-back clean sheets. And Maguire's played those games. So, and I understand, he played against, people go, hey, but he played against City as well. But then you're talking about, the 1 game out of 6 that we didn't win. So I think that, it's a credit to him. Lindelof and Maguire did well yesterday. That's still, you want to talk about progressing, bigger picture, long term. Maguire and Lindelof is not the partnership. But when they're doing well at the moment, you deserve to be praised, in my opinion, for that. So well done to him, certainly. Shows very strong mentality. Let's get some more reaction. Let's go to Rich. Here's what he had to say after the game.
I am so happy with that W because you know what? Sometimes you watch the game and you think, what are we going to expect from this team? My prediction pre-game was actually 3-1. I'm glad we kept the clean sheet because Onana deserved. Just to go straight into the players.
Let's talk about it.
Onana deserved that clean sheet.
Yes.
He played well. He made some good saves. Maybe orthodox sometimes with the parry and then catch again.
As long as it keeps in it.
No one can chat anything about our keeper right now.
Yeah.
And there's so many things to break down about the game. Okay, cool. Let's overall first half. We contained them. It wasn't our best game. They had better chances. They had a better. We only had that one Garnacho unbelievable goal. Obviously, we'll talk about that. But second half, we came out. We controlled the game.
Fighting.
We got back into the game. We had our midfield then connected with the front line. Bruno was getting on the ball. Captain's performance. So I was glad to see the change from the first half to second half, and also really and truly we could have come out of the first half and thinking, okay, these guys have now conceded 2 goals or 3 goals, whatever, and lost the game. No, they contained them. The defense did their job.
Again, because it was a very tough atmosphere that they went into.
Exactly. Very, very tough atmosphere. First 15 minutes, if we're going to get into the goals now, Garnacho scoring that goal in the first 3 minutes of the game, it helps the team completely.
Amazing.
And it builds confidence. You've got something to fight for. You've got something to defend. Mm-hmm. It might have been a different story, actually, if we didn't get that early goal, but we defended it with our lives in that first half. And after huge shout out to Garnacho. Lovely goal. World-class finish. Beautiful build-up. Lindelof. In fact, let me go back to the back. Yeah. Lindelof and Maguire.
Let's talk about it.
Maguire, he's literally had the biggest turnaround.
Yeah.
You have to be honest, right?
Yeah.
This guy has had the biggest turnaround.
Heroic arc right now.
Heroic arc. Honestly, from the depths of despair to now, he's a hero. He and Lindelof as well. You have to give him his props because ultimately, on that left-hand side, the centre-back, some people were saying, let's bring Luke Shaw back and put him at LCB. Lindelof has done a fantastic job. The reason I want to go back there is because he played the ball over to Rashford. Rashford then played it to Dalot. Dalot obviously good cross. Garnacho, unbelievable. You know, I could watch that goal 50, 60, 100 times and I would not get tired of it.
Goals, man.
Unbelievable. It's exquisite, whatever you want to call it. And to talk about Garnacho, this guy's got like a maverick streak. You know, he's got that kind of je ne sais quoi, like they say.
He's special.
He's a special player. You know, and you can really expect big things from him. Obviously, we don't want to get carried away. He's 19 years old. You know, anything can happen. You know, we've seen it happen in the past. But this guy is special, and we have to nurture it. Bruno said after the game, you know, he's not a great player yet, but he's got the minerals to become one. And you saw that with the celebration. I could talk. This whole match view could be just about Garnacho, but it's not going to be because
I need to talk to you about another player.
Big up to Rich and KG inside UVHQ there yesterday. And I'm glad you know what that Rich brought up Andre Onana, because I do want to point him out as well. I mentioned earlier on that he's tied with the most clean sheets in the Premier League right now. He's well in that Golden Glove race, which is a credit to him. But as I said last season with David De Gea, I'll keep the same energy. It's a weird award, the Golden Glove thing and clean sheets, because it's partially goalkeeper, partially defence as well. So I think you lump everyone into that. But yesterday, if you want to talk about his performance yesterday, he made big saves. And one of the criticisms of Andre Onana earlier on this season, wasn't it, is does he have that performance as a goalkeeper? We know it's distribution. If anything, it was actually his distribution that wasn't that great yesterday, but because he was going long too often. But does he have that performance whereby he can keep us in games with the saves that he makes? And he did that. He actually did that yesterday. And what really frustrates me about the sort of narrative surrounding Andre Onana is there is those in the media, and they're largely people that don't like United, obviously, and they're largely opposition fans and you know, those people that basically all they do is talk negative things about United and have nothing positive to say. But I remember, I think it was about a week or so ago, and they went, oh, well, Onana as a transfer has flopped this season. And I went, wait a minute, flopped? First of all, you know, how can you describe really most transfers? I mean, unless they've barely played at all, or I mean, to describe any transfer as a flop in November, that's a bit of a stretch. You know, you always say give it a season, in my opinion. But to say that the guy that, again, saved a penalty in the Champions League, yes, he had a bad start, but he's kept, we spoke there, 3 clean sheets in a row. If you want to talk about goals conceded this season, conceded 16 goals, which is better than other goalkeepers. I mean, it's better. This is how wild the situation is with Andre Onana, okay? So, Emi Martinez just got an award for the best goalkeeper in the world, right? He's conceded 18 goals this season. Andre Onana's conceded 2 less. So, what are we talking about? What are we talking about? And yet, people will focus just on those first few games at the start of the season. Oh, he's rubbish. He's terrible. And and what was strange about the start of the season is we all said, we went, yeah, but last season he was really good for Inter Milan. And we saw him in the Champions League final and he was really good. And, you know, Inter Milan are a good team. And this is very strange. I don't really get that. I don't really understand that. It's such a drop-off. And it looks like it was just a confidence thing and an adaptation issue. Now, will he do another clanger this season? Let's be honest, probably at some point, because all goalkeepers do. You know, I remember with Liverpool's result of the weekend, and they managed to draw against City, but Alisson in that game was all over the place. His kicking was awful in that game. And the goal that City scored comes from him, and nearly cost him another one. Those kind of goalkeepers, those sort of eccentric goalkeepers, they'll make mistakes. Like, they absolutely will make mistakes, no doubt about it. And he will make mistakes this season. But what I saw yesterday was a goalkeeper in between the sticks that felt a lot more confident. The jersey, the shirt wasn't as heavy on his back, and the pressure wasn't as heavy, and he was confident. Came out, I mean, even in the game, he came out and punched one. It kind of flew up in the air and he caught it. But prior to that, he came out, punched it as well. So I think that, again, he deserves a lot of credit because lesser people and lesser, personalities with that start to the season and the pressure that he was under would have just completely crumbled and fallen apart. So I think he deserves a lot of credit for that. I really do. And I still just find it fascinating, the narrative that surrounds him, because the focus for whatever reason for him is just on those first few games, not actually on the sort of recent games. And that's maybe United in a nutshell, is the focus is just on the start, not currently on the present, which is kind of my whole point in general, that we need to get past that. It's happened, but what are we doing right now, right? So, yeah, I don't Well, I do get it because it's Man United and just, desperate for us to fail, desperate for everything. And look, we don't even need. That's what I don't get with the Onana thing as well. So, I talk about people being desperate for us to fail or desperate for signings to flop and all that kind of stuff. But they don't even need to force it. We've had a lot of signings that flopped. You don't need to really push the agenda on a couple of them because a lot of our signings aren't great or haven't worked out or the club is massively mismanaged. So, but I say it like I'm surprised. It's just Danny with a super chat. Appreciate you. Says thoughts. Mainoo is like underrated. Underrated Moussa Dembele. Well, again, some of the comparisons. We'll say calm down. He was excellent yesterday, absolutely. But let's do it like I said about Andre Onana. Let's wait 5 games, 10 games, 12 games, and then start to say if Kobbie Mainoo can have this kind of influence moving forward in the majority of the games that he plays, then we'll say, hey, that's pretty good going. That's pretty good stuff. But we'll have to keep it steady. Let's go to some more reaction. Let's get some good vibes and see what John has to say.
Lads, what an incredible performance. What a star-studded performance, if you will. We got to talk about every single element of this game and, of course, Alejandro Garnacho. That's coming. But let's talk a little bit about how this match started prior to kickoff. Erik ten Hag serving his one-match suspension up in the stands, sitting next to Darren Fletcher. I was a bit concerned about that, of course, including the whole situation regarding Everton, of course, being deducted 10 points, whether rightly or wrongly so. Those fans were going to be the 12th men of all 12 men's. They were absolutely in full force, screaming, upset, fueled by emotion, whether it be rage or whether it be, perseverance, whatever it is. They were going to be an obvious force that were going to fuel the Everton players on that pitch today, and I was really concerned that might really impact the way Manchester United play. We've not been good at all in a majority of spells this season. We've lacked the professionalism. We've lacked the character and the composure required to win or be considered even a top team. But today, we showed that. Starting off with the match in the 3rd minute. Overhit cross from Diogo Dalot. And I'm sitting there. Overhit cross from Diogo Dalot. And as that ball's floating in towards the edge of the 18-yard box, I see one player running to address it. And every frame that passes by, it seems like he's building up for something acrobatic. And lo and behold, acrobatic it was. Alejandro Garnacho getting to that ball, realizing that because it was overhit behind him, the only thing that he can do at that moment is either to bring the ball down and try to wiggle with it and finagle with it or something, or to execute a bicycle kick. And not only did he execute a bicycle kick, he executed one of the cleanest, most technically beautiful bicycle kicks I have ever seen in all my years of watching footy. As a 30-plus-year-old old man, that was one of the cleanest I've seen in a long time. Stand up, Alejandro Garnacho. Well done, Garna. What a beautiful hit. He had Jordan Pickford in full stretch. Opposite side of the goal. What a goal. Alejandro Garnacho, he's been phenomenal for us since he's debuted. For the young age and for what he's being expected of him, he's been great for us. I couldn't have asked for any more from him last season. This season, it hasn't been as spectacular or star-studded, but nobody was expecting him to carry on with that blistering form that he had last season. And when he started early on, everybody was like, oh, see, this is what I told you. He's not ready to start. And I agree with them. I don't think he's ready to start Premier League matches, but he's getting to that. He's building his game. He's gaining a valuable experience. And today, because Højlund was injured, Garnacho started on the left with Rashford on the right and Martial up top. And I was a bit concerned that Martial's ineffectiveness with respect to his strength and all of these things were going to inhibit some of the other players. And to be fair to Martial, I thought he had a great game as well today, and I want to talk about him a little bit later down the line. But Alejandro Garnacho, take a bow, son. What a clean executed finish. And
big up, John. I still find it remarkable, John, when he goes, he calls himself an old man in his 30s. I don't think anyone would think that. The guy, he's the fountain of youth. He's the fountain of youth, and that's what happens. That's the secret. People will say, how do you stay young? Good vibes. That is the remedy. Good vibes. That is it. Big up to John. And as he mentioned, obviously Ten Hag once again yesterday went with Garnacho on the left, Rashford on the right. And I think the report was that Anthony had maybe picked up a knock in training. But it's not the first time that we've seen that the last few games with Garnacho on the left, Rashford on the right. And I like it. I do like it. I think it forces Rashford to play a bit more simply. He still really struggled, I think, yesterday again, Rashford. And even to the point when he scored his penalty, when he scored his penalty, like it was almost like he didn't want to celebrate. He still was quite within himself, and you could see the team had to kind of get around him and sort of say, no, go celebrate. Go, you scored a goal, away from home, celebrate with the fans. They want to celebrate with you. And I think maybe that kind of encapsulated maybe his sort of where he's at the moment in terms of his sort of football form, is that he's so low, and I think it is good to see that when you've got a player that's playing like that, the team are around him and are trying to support him. But he was really poor again yesterday. You can't sugarcoat that. I mean, basics, fundamentals, short 5-yard passes, he just couldn't do. And now you sort of just think, how do you get out of that? Do you get it through playing? Obviously, he's not going to play against Galatasaray. He's suspended. I don't know. My hope is maybe yesterday was a bit of a catalyst, but it wasn't in terms of his performance. But I think a credit to Bruno, though. First half, Bruno, again, was kind of like a lot of people, very, very erratic on the ball. Very erratic. Give the ball away a lot. Passing was way off. Second half, though, much, much better. Gives the pass to Martial for the penalty. Obviously, then gives the pass to Martial for the goal. And then gives the penalty itself to Rashford. Linked the play up much better. And again, I think that's a captain's-like performance. So credit Bruno Fernandes. We'll talk about the VAR decision for that in just a second. Daniel with the super chat here, appreciate you, says, Owen, what popped you more, Garnacho's goal or Big Phil returning at War Games? Well, for those that don't know what Daniel was talking about, yes, CM Punk is back in WWE. I did my watch long, got complaints from neighbours because I was screaming at the top of my lungs at like 4:30 in the morning. But who cares? I mean, whatever. who cares about screaming? Who cares what they say? It was fun. Enjoy yourself. Just like when Garnacho scores, or when you're watching your favorite TV program and something happens that you weren't expected. Let out the emotion. Let out the emotion. Enjoy yourself. Get lost in the moment. Celebrate. Let's not sit on our hands and begrudge people that celebrate or show their emotions too. We see this all the time. The celebration police. I saw that Thomas Frank was asked about it when it came to Arsenal the other day, saying, "Oh, do you think they celebrate that they won the World Cup?" And he was like, "Who gives a shit? It's football. It's life. Enjoy it. It's limited. You don't know when it's gonna end. So when there's a nice moment or there's something you can celebrate, enjoy it." I sound like Neil Warnock, but it's true. Like, honestly, enjoy it. Let's get some more reaction. Let's go to Raf, is what he said.
I'm just so happy.
Yes.
For us to go away from home, somewhere like Goodison Park, we know that they were up for it today, and to not just score 3 goals, but also not concede any goals.
Matting.
Can't be happier.
Listen, man, there's a lot of things to speak about and get into, but I just want to talk to you. Talk about Luke Shaw's return.
Yeah, I'm happy to see him back. We didn't see the best Luke Shaw performance. I'm not going to act as though he was playing at his best, but a steady performance, something we're missing on the left-hand side. Not really any mistakes in his game today, so hopefully he can get a run of games and get back to his best. I'm just so happy to see him back.
Again, we talk about Rashford, and we saw pictures of Rashford with his missus. We already know once that missus is back in his life, we see a better Rashford. Did he get the better Rashford today?
100%. We got a better Rashford, not the best Rashford. Still a long way back to get to that form that he was in last season, but we definitely saw a better Rashford. And I mean, when you book out the whole restaurant for your ex-fiance, you have to go and score a goal at Goodison Park.
Absolutely.
You have to, and he did. I was a bit worried when he got the penalty.
Yeah.
If you go back to the stream, you can see I was a bit nervous there. But at the end of the day, he scored a penalty and he scored very well. Top bins.
Yep. We got to talk about, because we've been talking for long about Martial, where his places in the team. Martial was important today. Any thoughts on Martial?
Yeah, I mean, he doesn't get many minutes, and I don't blame the manager because he's not reliable. Over the years, he's never been a reliable striker for us, but his goal and assist ratio for the amount of minutes he's played has always been good. Because when he does play, when he is fit, there's always a chance for him, and when he gets that chance, he scores. It's rare that he misses chances, and it was a good finish. Like, for him to chop the keeper the way he did, and also chip the keeper, and also he won the penalty. He won the penalty, so yeah, very good performance from Martial.
All right, I'm taking long to get to this, but Garnacho.
Viva Garnacho. Viva Garnacho. I'm going to say it one more time.
Garnacho.
Viva Garnacho. He is a great player. That goal, I'm going to go home.
Yeah.
I'm going to watch it once. I'm going to watch it twice. 3 times. I'm going to watch it over and over again until the morning comes back.
Yeah.
Big up Raf inside UVHQ talking to KG there yesterday. And yeah, first to criticise Anthony Martial. Well, not so criticise, just say United need to move on. And I still think they will. I don't think yesterday changes that. Still didn't complete 90 minutes. But what he did when he was on the pitch, I think he did well. He did what Martial does at this point in his career, right? Hold up the ball, good with his feet, doesn't really maybe have the amount of pace, but he's smart, he's intelligent, and his finish was great. And I thought, my immediate reaction when he went down in the box straight away went, that's a pen. And then when the referee gave a dive and booked him, and then that is to me why my initial reaction a few weeks ago with VAR was, well, maybe we don't get rid of it, because if that was allowed, as if it was just a referee human error and then they didn't overturn that, you would say, well, that's ridiculous, because it's not a dive. He sticks his leg out. It's a penalty. So United getting a VAR decision going in their favour feels somewhat remarkable, doesn't it? How Ashley Young stayed on the pitch because that's a foul and it's in the box, I don't really understand that at all. But we get the penalty, and Martial scored his goal, which was a great finish as well. So I'll give credit to where it's due, certainly, for that one. But it looks like Højlund might be back for Wednesday anyway, because it was touch and go when it came to him being available. So there you go, guys. That's Match Day Reloaded for you this morning. As I mentioned, we've got a big day of UV content. Coming up at midday is the Tactical View. Cam providing some tactical analysis of the victory at Goodison Park yesterday. You're actually going to be redirected to that now. It's actually live as a premiere now. It doesn't start till midday, but you can go click a like. You can go set a reminder for it as well. 3 p.m, of course, Flex and KG show live from UVHQ. And then we've got the full view at 7 p.m. A jam-packed day. And the latest episode of UV Raw is out exclusive for members to the FA Cup final. You can see what happened behind the scenes on that day. Have a great Monday, guys. I'll speak to you again very soon. Peace.